What's up? Hello, everyone. My name is Freddie Townsend, and I'm going to talk about why white guys should have all the fun. Blair Walker looked into his life and business dealings with Renegade F. Lewis in his history. For what reason should white guys have all the fun? You ask. With singular increases made by Lewis himself, the record motivates behind premium, the impertinences and subtitles behind the man that drove him to twist up a champion among the best experts in the nation, and the basic African Americans to fabricate a billion-dollar wonder. The journal takes after his hidden years, reasons for the interest and physique blogging feeling of commitment as for family and charity, and depicts the immense measure of work and erection Lewis put into his business. Each and every through high working life, Renegade F. Lewis worked outstandingly past, continually troublesome himself to raise more measures of the progress. Lewis was envisioned in 1942 to lively guardians in East Baltimore. He spent the greater bit of his youth fused by more expelled families and partners. His grandparents brought him and gave up on a gypsy estimation devoted perspective. It was amidst these early years that Lewis built up his significant connected sense of duty regarding family. Lewis kept up several winning spreads of wage amidst directionary school, including owning a consistently paper course and holding up at a conscientious nation club. Finally, sufficiently sparing to buy his own particular auto, a Hillman, one of the most prized having place, Lewis played 2 or 3 entertainments in helper school and worked unfairly to modify his diversions, his examinations, and his occupations. This committed indicated productive as Lewis earned a football permit to Virginia State in 1961. Lewis continued forward from Virginia State and searched for after a law degree at Harvard. In the wake of getting admission to a hoisted summer program for African American Studies at Harvard, Lewis talked his way to class of 1968. Lewis is the major individual in the legitimate view of Harvard to be surrendered into university before generally applying. After doctoral level, Lewis worked at Paul Wood's law office for a long time before striking out with no other individual, College Murphy, Thorpe, and Wallace, to open the basic African American law office on Wall Street. Lewis and his endorsements were effective. However, Lewis felt the genuine zenith of industry's achievement would be corporate buyout. His hidden 2 endeavors in acquiring Parks, Sausage, and Alma were disappointment in any case, and Lewis moved himself before at last making strides in his buyout by McCall suing Parent Company. Lewis restored his favorable position 90-1 when he sold the affirmation a couple of years at some point later. Lewis changed into the crucial African American master to affect $1 billion manage his acquisition to penetrate Food International. The affiliation was Lewis' most detectable accomplishment, and he was inconveniently associated with all parts of the buy and deal and a brief time frame later association. Relationship with race, black business, and expansion of global capitalism. While race was a fundamental piece of Lewis's life, he didn't give a shade of his skin chance to progress or stunner his activity. He was an issue of first criticalness and authority. By then an African American, Lewis did not enable race to affect business dealings. On the off chance that anything the radical Lewis went up against empowered his objective and drive to succeed more. The life story gives occasions of disreputable acts Lewis faced by rigidities of his race and how he oversaw them in the business and in his own life. Lewis contradicted inclination, coordinate when affected by it, and didn't proceed with loftiness or energy in any way. Lewis wound up pushed when a New York Times article didn't guarantee him for the achievement of McCall Pattern Company. He was settled not to able his basic achievement or to be dismissed or overlooked due to the shade of skin, and accomplished an element to rerun another article with changed sourness. In any case, Lewis grasped a total wonderful strategy with the media after the gaining of Beatrice International. He required the purpose of joining the story to be a business part of the game plan, not his experience. He conveyed that this is an instance of overcoming pain because of the exchange, not because of ethical of my race. Lewis was a brilliant philosopher, and a solitary month in 1991 gave away $1 million to phenomenal African American instructive, creative, and workmanship establishments. His inspiration driving his liberties giving was he was empowered by the help of African Americans to African American undertakings had all been a thought of what he kept up dual businesses and tried, despite his way, that he himself was not constant in diminished field. Investigating the history propelled me appreciation onto how outlasting our general process can be, even of our society. Openings are not the same for all Americans. Lewis himself commented on 2 or 3 events, diminished men who were rigid or without question or willing to act powerfully, as seen as aggregations who are self-important, brazen, and unnecessarily prideful. African American operators and ladies need to manage issues that their white ancestors didn't need to minister. They need to sustain themselves over and over. Some of Lewis's approaches did not close in light of how extraordinary specialists were careful about this race, and figured he cannot be that genuine or profitable in light of the way of the African American. I would just suggest that the life story as a sensible wellspring of data on the commodification of dull culture and the fate of diminished business. Renard Lewis did not what no African American before him had ever done, and appeared an amazing degree convincing. I set up a stock altogether in diminished boxes for flourish to have to take, if nothing else, consider Lewis's case. He internally held himself to a higher standard and drove himself to beat all the levels of life and of appropriation. Lewis ought to have been viewed as a man, not African American or dull man, but rather like a manner of a man. He particularly might not have any desire to be viewed as an African American awesome outline. Lewis even communicated, "I'm not going to pass on my race or the shoulder. I'm not in charge of anyone's life. I'm responsible for life. Moreover, I'm responsible for understanding my own Pacific dreams." And that is the thing Renegade Lewis did, appreciated his own particular dreams.
What helped encourage Reginald Lewis to be his best? Reginald Lewis' mother, Caroline, and her family, her 8 siblings, pampered and nurtured him as a young boy. which helped him to develop a strong sense of self-worth. When she left his father while he was a young child and moved in with her parents, he heard his mother tell his grandparents, "We will not be a burden and we would pay our way," as he overheard his grandfather complaining about the more mouths that he would have to feed. To Reginald Lewis, this was a lesson that he would carry with him all of his life. At the age of 9, his mother remarried a man named Gene Fugit Sr. Gene worked 2 jobs and he went to college to finish his degree. Gene taught Reginald that what seems like a complicated problem can have a simple solution. Reginald saw how hard Gene worked, and that also influenced his decision to work hard in life and to be the best that he could be. Growing up, Reginald Lewis enjoyed hanging out with people older than himself. In his mind, he believed he would improve himself faster that way, obtaining the wisdom from those older than himself who had experienced more and whom he can garner a lot of knowledge from. These are just a few factors from this novel that explains how Reginald became who he was, how he became a confident black man in his society during that time, which is such an encouraging story to anyone who is interested in owning a business, or into anyone who wants to be more than what society says that you can be.